Hi and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave and this is episode 1620A and today's date is July 21st, 2018 and the title of the episode is The Agenda is Set. Next phase, the central bank. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now we understand the Federal Reserve when they come out and they explain what they're going to do or what they're predicting, it usually means the opposite. I mean, if we go back in time, they tell us back in 2008, we're not predicting any type of recession. And of course, Ben Bernanke said this in the year 2008 when we had the recession. In that same year of 2008, the stock market came down and we were in a full-blown recession. He also told us that the housing market is fine. It's stable. Housing is not going to go down. Subprime securities, that is fine. Corporations, they're looking good, and it turned out that everything was completely the opposite of what they were telling us. Now the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is out there saying that digital assets are not yet big enough to present a serious threat to financial stability. And what he's saying is that the Fed, they are not considering digital currency whatsoever. Now, we know this is completely fake, phony, and false because they're looking to put forward their own digital currency. It might not be cryptocurrency, which I think this is where they would like to go, but I think what they're trying to do, and this is why they were pushing cashless society, they were going to a fully digital type of currency. And then all of a sudden, cryptocurrency was becoming more and more popular. Now, cryptocurrency is very, very small right now. And of course, what they're saying is that, it's volatile. Many people, many corporations are not taking payments in it yet. And again, this is the beginning stages. This is cryptocurrency blockchain 1.0, just like the internet. If you go back in time, when we had, flip phones, when we had AOL dial-up, no one would ever thought that we'd be doing so much on the internet, where we'd be actually accessing the internet on our phones. These little devices that we carry around now. And once again, this is just the beginning stages of cryptocurrencies. And he went on to say that even the Fed coin has received little interest from the Fed, and they're not looking to move to cryptocurrencies, which I think the opposite is about to happen. There's a reason why they demonize cryptocurrency so much. There's a reason why they've been telling us that it's volatile, money laundering and everything. But, the dollar and other currencies, they're used for money laundering and everything else. And what they've been trying to do is they've been trying to keep the American people in the world off track of what cryptocurrencies on the blockchain really are. And what we're seeing is now IBM, they're looking to hook a coin to the dollar. And I believe in the background, as always, they're going to be moving their agenda forward while they're telling us that this really isn't important to them, which we know this is completely the opposite. Now, we know that the global economy right now, it has so much debt. The United States has so much debt. And the last time the U.S. completely paid off the national debt was in 1840. It was the result of decades of balanced budgets under President James Monroe, John Quincy Adams, and Andrew Jackson. In the 179 years since 1840, counting the 2018 budget, the U.S. has run a deficit 109 times and a surplus or balanced budget just 70 times, amounting to a cumulative net deficit of $14.2 trillion. All of the surpluses combined in the last 179 years amount to about $580 billion, less than the deficit in 2017 alone, which was $665 billion. Since the national debt was last eliminated in 1840, the U.S. has paid a cumulative $7.8 trillion of interest on the national debt. This interest includes repaying principal, and if we use arithmetic here, not Common Core arithmetic, real arithmetic, it reveals that 55% of the $14 trillion in deficit spending since 1840 has in effect gone towards servicing the national debt. And if we look at this a little differently, instead of paying down its debt with tax revenue, the federal government has essentially rolled over 55% of its debt since 1840 with new debt. And as the debt continually grows, the tax receipts coming in, the ability to pay off the debt is becoming harder and harder. If you raise interest rates, well, it's that much harder. Now, we've been talking about how both sides, and I'm talking about the central bank and the patriots behind Trump, how they are both going to create a certain narrative when the system comes apart. And what they're going to do before that period of time, they're going to lay breadcrumbs. Just like the Fed right now, they're changing data, hiding data. They have the mainstream media out there saying that we're heading towards a recession, most likely before 2020. The economy isn't as good as Trump. The IMF is out there saying that the trade war is going to hurt the economy. The Fed is out there saying, yes, the trade war might wreck the economy. So on one side, you have the central bank, you have the corporate media, the deep state. They are pushing a certain agenda of how the economy is going to go in the future. And they're already letting the breadcrumbs of saying that it's because of Trump's trade policies. Now, we talked about how Trump was going to come out and say something against the central bank, the Fed. And he came out, and we mentioned this in a previous report, where he said he's not thrilled or happy with the interest rate hikes. He knows, and the patriots know, exactly what the central bank is up to. And if you really think about it, presidents rarely ever comment on monetary policy or currency market moves at all. They don't even go against the Fed. For Trump to come out and say this, it seems like he's letting everyone know that he's not happy with what the Fed is doing, where they're raising interest rates. And he kind of summed it up when he was having this interview with CNBC, where he said the following, and this basically lays out the groundwork for his narrative and how he's setting up the central bank. I don't necessarily agree with it, Trump said to CNBC, about the Fed's 2 rate hikes so far this year. I'm not thrilled because every time we go up, they want to raise the rates again. But at the same time, I'm letting them do what they feel is best. Think about what he's saying here and what he just did. He let the world know he's not happy with what they're doing. Raising interest rates. He wants them to raise it again and again and again. And he's saying, I'm letting them do what they feel is best. He just set up the central bank. He's letting everyone know that they're the ones who are doing this. Now, later on, he's going to come out with more nuggets. Now, of course, the White House is going to say, no, this is not what he really means. And this is how the game is played. This whole thing is a game on how you can manipulate what is going on in the market, geopolitically, politically, and get the deep state, get the central bank sucked into a certain narrative. And this is what he's been trying to do, and the Patriots been trying to do all along. So what we're going to see moving forward here is many more, how should I say, messages coming out of Trump and the Patriots. Remember, the last time the national debt was paid off was in 1840, and that was President James Monroe, John Quincy Adams, and Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson ran a campaign on getting rid of the central bank. The central bank puts the country into debt. How do they do this? They loan the government currency with interest attached. We don't need to have a central bank doing that. And they're trying to convince us, the central bank, the Fed, that they need to control the economy because they help the dollar, they help the interest rates, they help the economy stay stable. But if you look back in time, how many times has the economy fallen apart, where we entered a recession, a depression, and people have lost their wealth? Has the dollar really maintained its value? No, it's gone down in value over time. It's now worth 96, 97% of what it was worth back in 1913 when they first introduced it, especially when we came off the gold standard in 1970. So right now, we are now seeing the first shots of this battle. And Trump finally came out and pointed towards the Fed because he understands, and just like we understand, this is why we've been following the economy. This is why we've been tracking every little thing, looking at all the different indicators. So nobody could say, hey, all of a sudden the economy came down and it was because of this reason. No, we've been following it and we've been showing how these numbers give us the illusion that the economy was doing well when it really wasn't. And what we're in today is it's not a strong economy. The stress test that the Fed created, it doesn't mean the banks are strong. What the Fed has been doing over these many years doesn't mean it propped up the economy where it's strong once again. All they did was create a lot of currency, have other central banks take over the money printing, propped up the banks, shoved that currency into the stock market, pumped it up by buying stocks. It wasn't the everyday person on the street buying the stocks. It was institutions and central banks buying the stocks because the Fed allowed this, and in some instances, the Fed actually purchased stocks. The real estate market has never been worse than we've ever seen. It hasn't improved. What they did was they had hedge funds and investment companies go in and purchase thousands upon thousands of homes. They kept them off the market. The banks have not foreclosed on many, many homes. They kept those off the market, and they drove prices up in 20 cities. This is what they've done, and they made the prices move up. Making the prices of homes move up doesn't mean the housing market is fantastic. It means they have the ability to manipulate the housing market to make everyone think that the economy is doing well. And when housing prices rise, and they know this, people feel comfortable because on paper, they think in their heads that they have wealth. Oh, I bought my house at $200,000. It's worth $250,000. I feel good. I feel comfortable. You know what? Let me take a home equity line of credit out on my home and let me refinance it and let me go buy other things. And people feel really good. They feel like, ooh, the economy's doing well. When the housing prices go down, people get depressed. People think the economy's not doing well. So this was part of their illusion. Now, while this was going on, what was happening with retail? What was happening with people who had full-time jobs? Look what they had to manipulate to make everyone believe that the economy was doing well. Now, this manipulation went full force. I mean, they were manipulating a lot of the numbers way before 2008, but they went into overdrive in 2008 to keep the illusion alive. Here we are at the end of their system. The central bank knows they need to bring this down. They need to blame this on some other person or entity, country, whatever it may be. And of course, it looks like they're pointing to Trump right now. Trump, the Patriots know that this economy will not last much longer. Now, Trump has used their methods, their calculation. He let them continue on with it. He kept the narrative of, oh, wow, look how great the economy's doing. Wow, this is incredible. The economy's getting better and better. Unemployment's getting lower and lower and lower. Now he's turned it around. Well, I don't like what the Fed's doing. They're raising interest rates. That's not going to help the economy. But I'm going to let them do what they feel best. And this is the same exact strategy he used with North Korea. He's going to be using with Syria, eventually Ukraine, and the rest of the Middle East. And basically, he's out there using the deep state, the central bank methods, and then eventually turns it around. This is what we're going to see with the economy. And the battle at this point right now has just begun. And we can see that Trump and the Patriots, they're building the narrative. This was the start. And we're going to see the economy get a lot worse. We're going to be looking into the economy. We're going to be showing all different aspects of the economy, how it's getting worse, how it's not improving, how this was an illusion. At the same time, the central bank, Trump and the Patriots, they're both going to be building their narrative. Here we are. The next phase of this agenda, the target is the central bank. Once you get rid of the central bank, guess what? The deep state, they lose their funding. Game over. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.